So this is the Shenandoah oral surgery facility that required full on-site compliance for stormwater management. So we didn't have the option of doing any phosphorus credits to meet quality requirements. So this one we ultimately went with full pavers on the entire parking lot, as well as directing all the roof runoff to the pavers as well. So on the design, initially, we had this stall for pavers, we had all these stalls for pavers, and then we had to have an area in the entrance for pavers to meet the 2.5 to 1 ratio. So we didn't have to have everything in pavers, but the owner wasn't really pleased with how that was broken up, and this was broken up, and that was broken up. And there's some grading challenges. It's very flat, and the earthwork cost was getting high to export anything because it's all cut. So it just made more sense to go and level things out. We got a few large storm relief points to where there's always a backup plan, but ultimately it just all kind of infiltrates straight in, goes to under drains. The under drains discharge to a small bioretention cell, and it meets full compliance on the project. Kind of creating this corridor was tricky. You can see how we had to cut this site in already, because essentially the grade around the entire building is pretty much just dead flat in all 4 directions. So these 2 scuppers here, these roof leader discharges, we designed those so it's a flat roof. All the runoff comes to these 2 points here, and the challenge was to get, once again, the concentrated runoff from the roof that's already in a pipe coming down the wall, dissipated into the pavers for treatment and runoff reduction. So the decision here was to put in these energy dissipating riprap receiving boxes, if you will.
It's an innovative design in that detail, the bypass.
Yeah, well, I mean, we couldn't just leave it completely non-underdrain, because then it would be detrimental to the foundation. So I think there's 3 4-inch sleeves right here that just underdrain it back into the reservoir stuff. But yeah, it doesn't take long. I mean, you can see where it's been washing over into the top surface here through the curb cut. Yeah, I think that was better than just dumping it right onto the top of the paver.
Oh yeah.
It's basically just energy dissipation before it gets over to the top.
Exactly.
But what the 4-inch sleeves do is make sure it just doesn't have standing water in it. These are the underdrain cleanouts around the perimeter. So every so often you can get in there and check your underdrains. This is the project where we put in one of the first ones in the county, and I met the county erosion control administrator out here because she wanted to know, hey, what am I looking for whenever I can say, is this in compliance, or does it need some maintenance and attention?
Sure.
And my answer was, when you see clean stone, it's good to go.
Exactly.
So here's the under drain. Of course, that's just the emergency relief for your large events. And the under drain daylight's right in this stone here from this side, and right there you can see that one. That one's coming from the lower side.
Oh, look at that.
And so this is bioretention, 3 feet deep, and there's a public system right there connected into it. So that riser just connects into a public system right here. And the under drain, we've had some localities complain about flexible ADS for under drains, even in the bioretention. But if you do the corrugated perforated pipe with the pre-installed sock, I mean, it works great.
No problems.
It doesn't get any better than that in our opinion. So we've been doing the 4-inch sock pipe on all of our systems well over 5 years with no issues at all. We've had enough rain that one trip we actually had discharge from the under drain.
Oh wow.
Now it was coming out, a couple inches deep, but it was coming out of both under drains.
So this really is a backup. You don't see a whole lot of.
This didn't have any water in it at all.
Wow.
Yeah, it just was infiltrating into the bioretention. Now that was before this plant material got really established at all. Ultimately, there's some planned expansion as well. So he wanted to kind of work that into the factors here, which played into the grading, right? We couldn't start cutting but so much. Let's head to Bridgewater.